So in today's session, we are going to look at very interesting one. In today's one, we first look at the repetitive statements in Python. Especially, we are going to look at while statement, which means we can use while statement to repeat a set of blocks. So then to repeat, there are other statement as well. For example, for loop. Then the difference is in while loop, usually provides with a condition, right? You have a condition. If the condition is true, then you are going to repeat it. So that's how it works. So therefore, this is called looping statement. And usually you can also have some else cause, which we will not discuss in detail. Right. So having said that, let's move on to next part, right? So the idea in the next one is, let's say we want to print set of numbers. I'm going to start with the number patterns. The reason for this is it's very easy to look at how we can have like number patterns in Python, and then I'm going to make use of this to explain this. Right. So let me first open up. Let's work on the shell first. Right. Now let's say we want to print numbers from 1 to 10, and one way to do this is we can have 10 print statement. So let me start a new window. Right. And let me to do this. So I mean, we know that if you want to print, let's say 1, we can say print 1, right? I hope we are very confident on this. So if that is the case, what I can do, I can simply have a file where we could just simply print, 10 statements, right? Like this. So I can say, okay, print 1, right? Print 3, print 4. I'm going to try to print numbers from 1 to 10, right? 6, print 7. What do you think? Is this correct way to do this? Or are we getting the correct answer? Like, are we printing numbers from 1 to 10 first? Is it, I'm not asking, is it best way to do is, okay, printing numbers from 1 to 10. What do you think about the output? Are we getting numbers from 1 to 10? If we run this, how many of you do you think? If I run this, and if you say, okay, let's execute and see. Yes, of course, we are getting numbers from 1 to 10. Nothing wrong in this. But there's a problem. What's the problem? For example, if I ask to print numbers from 1 to 100 or 1 to 1000 or any other pattern, which might need, you to type, it will not be easier. So therefore, instead of doing this, what we need is we just will have just one print statement, right? And then we are going to repeat this. You get my point? Okay. So for example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a variable, let's say number. The variable is number. So we have initialized this. We discussed this. Say, let's say, since we are going to start with number 1, let's print number 1. So if you just run this, what will happen? We know that number is 1, and then print number, just print 1. Okay, we need to repeat this. So if you want to repeat this, we can use while, and then we have to put a condition. So let me put true here. So what happens here now? If I do this, it means we have a while statement and condition is always true. So what happens if you put it in this format? it is always true. That means it will keep on running. So let me show you what will happen here. So if you try to do this, what might happen? It will keep on running. I mean, there's no end to this one. And then you can notice that it just one, it won't change. So I'm going to stop this. I will press Control and C to break this. So now one of the issues in this is it keep on printing number, but number is always one. So from the knowledge that we have gained earlier, within the loop, we have to change the value of the number. So what we could do, we can increase the number by 1. And this is how we will write. So although you see this, what it means, you get the current value, you increase by 1, and you do reassign. So if you do this, and if I rerun again, now you will notice that, okay, now it's keep on running. Again, there's no end to it. So I will break. And you will notice that this time it's correct. I mean, it will keep on increasing. So we have the variable number 1. We have a loop, while loop, and we have condition is always true. So which means it keep on running. So what we did, we print the number and we increase the number by 1. And that's what happened. Okay, now there's a problem here. We want to stop. So we don't want to go beyond 10. So that means we have to do something about the number and then with the number 10. So what should happen is when number is 1, it should allow go inside. So that means value should be less than, right? So when number is 1, the number is less than 10, it goes inside, print the number, and then it increase the number by 1. Again, go back, you check the condition. That's how it works, right? And therefore, this will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 is also less. Then it will print 9. 9 plus 1, 10. If you check 10, whether it's less than 10, no. Therefore, you have to put like this. So either you have to say, we have to check whether the number is less than or equal to 10 or less than 11. So both ways are possible. So let me use with this one. So let me run this. So if I do this, now you notice, this will exactly print numbers from 1 to 10. Right. So I will summarize what we discussed. So in this part, we were discussing how we can use while statement to repeat block of statements. The example I have taken is printing numbers from 1 to 10. And to do that, we want to use just single statement and we want to repeat this. So we generalize the print statement. We set print number. We set number to 1. And then we have a while loop where whenever the condition is true, it will repeat, right? So therefore, you print number 1, and as soon as you print number 1, you increase the number by 1, and it goes on like this. So we have a cutoff point here. Whenever the number is less than or equal to 100, it will allow. So beyond that, we have to stop. For example, you print number 10, 10 plus 1, number 11. When you check number 11, so it's not less than or equal to 10, then you should come out from the loop. So therefore, we get, numbers from 1 to 10. Okay, so I hope you got the basic idea. So if I explain this with the example and the flow chart to print numbers from 1 to 10, the trick that we have used is we use a while loop. We repeat this exactly 10 times. And within the loop, we print the number and we increase the variable number by 1. Right. And you can notice that how exactly it happens. So we set the number 1 and we check whether the number is less than 10. If it is true, you print the number, you increase the number. Then again, you check the condition. So when the number is 2, again is less than or equal to 10, print 2, 2 plus 1, number becomes 3. Right? So this will repeat. For example, let's say it will print number 9. 9 plus 1 number is 10. You check whether 10 is less than or equal to 10. Yes, it's equal to 10. You print 10. 10 plus 1, number becomes 11. When number is 11, then it's not less than 10. It will come out from the loop. Right. Okay. So if you still not clear how exactly this work, we have something called trace table, which I have a separate slide. But for the time being, what you could do is you can see and you can go through how this works. Now to see how this works, so you can start from the beginning. So let's say we have a table, we can make a table and just see what happens. For example, I will put simple T to recognize, and then I will explain with T, we are going to take how many times the loop repeats. And then we have a variable number, so I will put number here. So that's our variable, and we will keep track what will happen to the number. And then output, I will have another column just to, see what happened with the output. So initially, when we start, right, number is 1 and there's no output, right? And then we have a while statement and we have a condition here. We have to first check whether the number is less than or equal to 1. Now the current value is 1, therefore you go inside. So as soon as you go inside, it will the first time you are going to repeat this loop. You print the number, you increase the number by 1. So after the first iteration, this is how it looked like. The loop repeated 1. After you repeat for the first time, the number is 2, output is 1. So now let's look at the next time. So when it goes to the second time, the number is 2. And you check whether the number is 2. I will put 2 here. 2, is it less than or equal to? Yes. So then the loop repeat for the second time. And it will print the number. Number is 2. Then 2 plus 1, number becomes 3. So that's what will happen, right? And then next time what will happen? The next time what will happen? The number is 3. So now you check whether the 3 is less than or equal to 10. Yes. So the loop repeat for the third time. You print the number is currently 3. You increase the number by 1, the number becomes 4. After 3 iterations, after 3 loops, we can notice that we have 1, 2, 3 is the output, and the number is now 4. Let me check one more time. 4, is it less than or equal to 10? Yes. So loop repeat for the fourth time. You print the value, you increase the value. Next, number is 5. Is it less than or equal to 10? Yes. Loop repeat for the fifth time. You print 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. 6, is it less than or equal to 10? Yes. Loop repeat for the sixth time. You print 6. 6 plus 1, it becomes 7. Right? Now 7, is it less than or equal to 10? Yes. Loop repeat for the second time. It will print 7. 7 plus 1, it becomes 8. Now 8, is it less than 10? Yes. Loop repeat for the 8th time. Print 8. 8 plus 1, it's 9. 9, is it less than? Yes. 9. And it will print 9. 9 plus 1, it's 10. Right? 10. Okay. So you check whether 10 is less than or yes. So the loop repeat for the 10th time. 9 plus 1, we have a 10, it will print. 10 plus 1, it's 11. So now what happens? We have 11. You go back, 11. Is it less than or equal to 10? No, it will come out. So therefore, if somebody asks, if somebody give you this code, And if it asks how many times the loop repeats, we know the loop repeated 10 times. What is the output of this code? We know that it will print 1 to 10. What is the final value of the number? When you finish this code, the number stored inside the variable is 11. Right. I hope you understood this idea. So let me get back to the code again. So we have checked this. Right. And then, so this is what we did, right? Okay. So now I have a couple of questions for you to try out. So I hope you are now comfortable with printing numbers 1 to 10. And maybe if you have computers and Python installed, I hope you might have already tried this. Couple of exercises for you, right? Yes. Can you extend this code to answer these 4 questions? So let's start with the first one. Can you tell me, right? Let's say I want to print numbers from not 1 to 10, 1 to 100. By changing one single place in this code, we can print numbers from 1 to 100. I want you to give me the answer for that question. So to print numbers from 1 to 100, the change that we have to do is instead of 10, if you put 100, this will code print numbers from 1 to 100. And that's what is the outcome of this. So you will notice that it start with 1, 2, 3, and so on and goes up to 100. So that's the answer for the first one. Okay, can you answer for the second one? I want to print odd numbers. Okay, so by changing one single place in this code, you can print odd numbers. What do you mean by odd numbers? You start with 1, then 3, then 5. So likewise, within 100, we have 99, right? So give me the answer for that. I want to print only the odd numbers. Okay, answer for the second one. If you want to print odd numbers, the only change that you have to do from the previous code is you increase the number by 2. Increase in number by 2, what happens? You start with 1, the next one will be 3, the next one will be 5, and so on. It goes on, uh, 9 up to 99, right? Including 99. So which will print odd numbers for 1 to 100. Okay, good. So let's move to the third one. Print even numbers. I want you to give me the answer for the third one. I want you to change one single place in this code to print even numbers between 1 to 100. 1 to 100, no? Just give me a 1 to 100. What is it? So if you want to print even numbers, let me save this as a different program number 16. So only change you have to do is just change the starting value. If you just change the starting value 2, because I'm actually looking for even numbers between 1 to 100. So the first even number is 2, right? And you increase by 2 and you check whether it's between 1 to 100. So let me run this. And this time when you run this, you will notice that it starts like 2, 4, 6, and so on, goes up to 100. Okay, that's good. So I think now we are very clear about how while loop works. A small note, when you're writing while loops, you have to focus on three places. You have to focus on the starting value. You have to focus on the increment or decrement. You have to focus on the condition. So if you carefully look at these three places, you can write any combination, any loop in while using while statement. Okay, last one, a tricky one, right? Okay, the last one, I want you to print, right, numbers from 10 to 1. What is the code? Yes, let me put this as 17, right? So 3 places you have to look at it. Check on the starting value, check on the increment or decrement, check on the condition, right? We need to print numbers from 10 to 1. And so answering Hitara, I mean, like, let's go one at a time. What is the starting value? We have to go from 10 to 1. So the starting value should be 10, isn't it? So I will put 10 here. Then what is the increment or decrement? After 10, what is the next value we need to print? We need to print 9, right? Then 8, then 7. So what happened? What should happen to the current value of number? Instead of increasing the value, we have to decrease the value by 1. So we have to say, okay, minus 1. So now you can see, we start with number 10. We subtract 1. Now number becomes 9. Next time, subtract 1. It becomes 8, then 7, then 6, then 5, then 4, and so on. Okay, next one, the condition. Again, remember, this is very tricky one. The condition should allow the number 10. It should allow number 9. It should allow number 8. It should allow number 2, 1. And that's it. So we have to do something about number and 1, isn't it? Why? We should allow, we have to allow 10 to go inside, then 9, then 8, then 7, then 2, then 1, So that means whatever the number should be greater than 1. And we need 1 also should go inside. So we have to say greater than or equal to 1 or greater than 0. So there could be 2 possible answers, I would say. Either we have to say number should be greater than or equal to 1, or we have to say, okay, number should be greater than 0. Both should work. So in that particular case, if you do this and if you run this, now you should see that this will print numbers from 10 to 1. Okay, so I think we got the basics. So let's again summarize in a while loop whenever you want to have it. Right? What we need to do is we have to focus on the starting value, increment or decrement, and then the condition. You should be able to use any number pattern using while loop. But although we work on any number pattern, the ideal case is we are repeat something. And what we need to remember is we are repeating this for 10 times, right? If you read for this code as well as the very first one, we are repeating 10 times, right? Whatever the blocks inside this while statement. So depending on our requirement, we have to adjust accordingly. Okay, so having said that, let's move back to our topic again, right? So let's look at some examples. Right, there's a good question. So let me focus on that. Right, there was a question like, instead of printing everything down, how can you put into a single line? It's a good question. So let me give you an answer for that. Right? So I will actually use it here. So for example, if you want to repeat something instead of just line by line, but if you want in a single line, there was a trick that we can use. The trick that what you have to use is, let me say it's n. Earlier we said it's number. It's okay. You can use anything, n, I, x, whatever. I will say n is 1. So I'm going to have a while loop. N is less than or equal to 10. And what we do within this is we print n and we will increase n by 1, right? This is what we did. And it will print like this. So what happens with the print statement if you look at help print? If you look at help print, like separation, there's something called end. You should notice there's something called end. End means string append after the last value, default a new line. So what it means is whenever we use a print statement, right? Print statement, when you say print n, what happens? It will print and it go to the next line because n is a new line. So if you want to keep it a single line, you can say end, we can modify. So let's say you want to have a space in between. So you put a space, right? And then we increase n by 1. So if you do this now, you will notice, right? We put a space, therefore it will print 1. At the end, it will include space. Then next time it will print 2. Then it will include a space. So I hope you got that. Okay. Any questions? I hope it is clear to you. Okay, good. So I will give you some exercises. So interestingly, this could be used to make very interesting patterns. We are going to do this. So before I move on to finding totals or calculating averages and so on, let's do some small repetitive tasks. So my first set, the second set I will give you as exercise. So this is my first set. From the knowledge we have gained so far, can you think of a way to print these patterns? So let's start with the first pattern, right? Small exercise. Take some time, see what to repeat. Remember, the loops can be used to repeat something. Let's start with the first one, okay? When you have given some problem like this, you have to first, break it into smaller pieces. So first, let's look at the first pattern. When you look at the first pattern, you see we have stars. How many stars? We have 5 stars. And repeated how many times? Repeated 5 times. So the ideally, if you remember what we discussed so far, how to repeat something, how to, print 6 stars. Sorry, 5 stars, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So one can say print. You can have 5 stars like this. There's nothing wrong. This is correct, right? But can you tell me any shorter way to do this? Any shorter way? We discuss. I don't know whether you remember we discuss. If you want to repeat something, under strings we discuss. Do you remember how we did? Yes. So do you remember something like this? We have this and we repeat, let's say 5 times. Do you remember this? We discussed this, right? Remember when you have a string and a number, we said that operation is repetition. We discussed this earlier. Shorter way to do this. So therefore, we know that how to get 5 numbers, 5 stars. Now we have to repeat 5 times. Now this is where the loop is very interesting. How exactly we run. So when you want to print numbers from 1 to 10, we started with 1. We checked whether the condition is there no equal to 10. And we had print statement. And we increased the variable by 1. And it repeated exactly 10 times. So this time we have to repeat 5 times. Agreed? So when you want to say 5 times, so let me say n equals 1. And let's say while loop n less than or equal to 5. I hope, because in previous one, when I say n is 1 and while n is less than or 10, it was repeated 10 times. This repeat 5 times. And what should repeat? Okay, we want to repeat this pattern. How many times? 5 times. And then we have to increase the variable by 1. And now what happens? This repeat 5 times. And this is our first pattern, right? So if you look at carefully, so this is how we have got down the first pattern. So just to summarize what we did. So first thing what we did, we got the star, we repeated 5 times, okay? And that whole thing we had to repeat 5 times. So for that, we have used a variable n. We check whether it's less than or equal to 5. So make sure that this number will tell us how to repeat 5 times. Within the loop, we increase the variable by. Okay, so I hope you got some idea how we may design some patterns like this. Okay, now shall we try the next one then? The next one is tricky because next one, you will notice the first line, the first repetition, we have 1 star. Then you have 2 stars. Then you have 3 stars. Then you have 4 stars. Then you have 5 stars. Okay, let's start. Okay, just to see like our second pattern, what we need to do is we have to print star 1 time, which means we have to multiply by 1. Then 2 times, we have to multiply by 2. 3 times by 3. 4 times by 4. 5 times by 5. So which means it should, dynamically change. So we need to use a variable. So if we say we are using, let's say I this time, I is 1. And then we know that I should be less than or equal to 5. Okay. I made a mistake when I type in while statement. While I less than equal to 5. Okay, what is the print statement? Okay, we have a star, we have to multiply by what? Anyone? So first time we have to repeat 1 time, second time we have to repeat 2 times, third time we have to repeat 3 times, fourth time we have to repeat 4th time, fifth time we have to repeat 5 times. Which is we have to multiply by I. Why I? Because we know I is 1, then next I is 2, then we have 3, then 4, then 5, right? So we repeat this. We multiply the star by I, and then we increase I by 1. Okay, great. So now we notice, okay, so the stars. So you hope you got this for the second one. Okay, let's move to the third one now. Very tricky. Now we had stars so far. Now we have to repeat with numbers. So you have 1 repeat 1 time, 2 repeat 2 times, 3 repeat 3 times, 4 repeat 4 times, 5 repeat 5 times. Okay, I will give you some time. But think about how you are going to do this. So to get the numbers instead of stars, we have to get the number as a string and we have to multiply with the number. So ideally what we need is we have to say print 1 for one time. Then print 2 for 2 times. You get this point. So we have to repeat 5 times and the numbers goes from 1 to 5, which means in our case, I get I. So therefore, if I use same I, what this means? While I is less than or equal to 5, okay, can you tell me what should be the my print statement? So we know that we have to have something. I will put question marks multiplied by I, right? So that part we are clear about this from the previous one. But then the problem is you cannot put I as it is, because as soon as you put I, it will print as I, right? So let me show you. So if you put I, if you say print I, right, like this, it will just print I, not 1. Why is that? When you put double quotes, it takes as a string value. So therefore, what we need to do is, we have to say, let's say I is 1, we have to say print, we have to use string I and multiply by I. So see what happens. If you do this, the I is 1, it will print 1. Now let's look at I equals I plus 1. So now I is 2, right? So if you run this twice, then again if you repeat, then now I is 3. 3 repeats 3 times. I is 4. I repeats 4 times. Now I is 5. I repeats 5 times. So simple idea. So the whole program is I is 1. Yes. While I is less than or equal to 5, we can say print string I, you multiply I. This is tricky one. Those who are not familiar, you might not understand this fully for the first time, but if you think very carefully, you will understand what I'm trying to explain to you, right? So you see that we have number pattern. Right. What about the next one? Fourth one? I'll go up to fourth one and then do it as a homework. I'll put up the link in the LMS, you to try this out. But let's discuss the last one, the fourth one. Okay. If you look at the fourth patterns, if you carefully look at, you see you multiply the asterisk 5 times, then 4 times, then 3 times, then 2 times, that 1 time. So the same number pattern we have seen, right? We learn how to go from 10 to 1. So here we go from 5 to 1, that's all. So how should we start? So let me take pattern. So we had to go 5 to 1, right? If you remember how to go from numbers 5 to 1, we have to start from 5, right? So we'll take x this time, x equal 5, right? The condition is we have to say x greater than or equal to 1, and then let's say print x, and then x equals x minus 1. So we know it will print numbers from 5 to 1. But what we need not is 5 to 1, but we need to multiply the star with this many times. So let me update the code. So I will take this x, and then I'm going to get this code. So what I want is actually we'll get the star multiplied by x times. So when I say x times, first x is 5. then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, right? So that's what happens. Okay. 5 times, 4 times, 3 times, 2 times, 1 time, right? We got this. Okay, I think now you got the point of how we can use repetitive statements, especially we discuss while statement. So what I want you to do is I want you to practice, especially what we have covered so far, how while loops can be repeated, can be used to repeat something, repeat set of blocks. And what we need to understand is it's conditionally controlled, which means that we have a condition. If the condition is satisfied, it will execute again. Otherwise, it will come out from the loop, right? So let's go back. I want to discuss how we can use to mark or some numbers from, let's say, 1 to 100 or 1 to 10, right? So let me start with 1 to 10 first. So the ideally to do that, I will first start with the code, right? And then I will explain this again. So what I'm going to do is, let's take a new file, right? And in this one, what I'm going to do is I will print numbers from 1 to 10. So how to print numbers from 1 to 10? We know we get a variable. We'll say it's 1. And then we have a while loop. We will say that value should be less than or equal to 10. And we said we print it. And then we change the variable by 1. Right. So this is what we have discussed so far. So let me save this. So in our case, it goes to inside the code. I think we have done 17. So this is program number 18. Right. Now, the point that I want to find here is the sum of, I will put a comment. Comment means this will not execute, right? The sum of the numbers from 1 to 10. So you add numbers from 1 to 10. Like you can do this to say that, okay, total equals 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus, you can do that like this. Without any loop, you can do that, right? But what is important is do it in repetitive fashion like this, which we can use later on as well. So now this will print numbers from 1 to 10. Let me show you one more time. When you run this, it will repeat from 1 to 10. What we really need is not to print it, but we want to find the total of numbers 1 to 10. So how do you find the total of numbers from 1 to 10? One at a time. So that's the question that we need to handle. So therefore, what we could do, we can take a variable, let's say total. And what we need to do is we add, right? I. So we say total equals total plus I. So what happens? When I is 1, you add 1 to the total. Then when I is 2, you add 2 to the total, 3 to the total. So on, it will add 10 to the total. Okay. So idea is we need a new variable total. And what we do, we add I to the total. But one thing you need to remember is what is the initial value of total? Total should be 0. We have to start saying the total is 0. Understood the point? Now let's see what will happen, right? So you can see what is inside. So like I said earlier, we can use phrase table. So this time we have how many times? So I put T. We have variable I and we have variable total. So how total is calculated? So let's see. Initially, I is 1, total is 0. Now we go inside this loop. We check whether I is less than 10. Yes, I is 1. So this will add it to the total. So the first time, I is 1 added to the total. So the total becomes 1. And then you increase the I by 1, I becomes 2. So after the first iteration, we notice I is 2 and total is 1. Again, we'll repeat. Now I is 2. 2, is it less than 10? Yes, it will add it to the total. So second repetition, the total becomes 3 because 1 plus 2, that is 3. And then it increased by 1, that will be 3. Okay, can you give me the answer for the next iteration? Give me the answer for the next iteration. What is the value of I? That is 3. You check whether 3 is less than 10. Yes. Then that 3 is added to the I. 3 plus 3. So this is the third round. This is 6. Now I is 4. So the 3 values we are getting 3, 4, and 6. Okay. Go one more time and give me the 3 values. Right now I is 4. We are finding total of numbers from 1 to 5, right? Sorry, 1 to 10. So my question is, what is the next slide? Okay. Let's see. I is 4, right? So you go 4, is it less than 10? Yes. 4 it added to the total. Total becomes 10. So this is a 4th type. And then I becomes 5. You got this, right? So we need 3 lines. So I'm going to continue here now. We have T, we have I, we have total. Okay, now I is 5. You go 5 is less than 10. Yes, that is 5th time it will repeat. It will add it to the total. This becomes 15. And you increase I by 1. I becomes 6. Okay, can you give me the next slide? The 3 values. Right now, I is 6. I is 6. Okay, let me go from the beginning one more time. So what we are trying to do in this case, we are trying to find the sum of numbers from 1 to 10, the total value. What do you mean by total value? Simply, we are adding all the numbers together, right? This is the value we are trying to find. So we could have done this in one single line like this. But my point is, this is not what we need, right? So therefore, we are going to add 1 at a time. So therefore, we take a variable, I is 1, and we have another variable total, and we put up in a while loop. So let's see how the loop works To do that, we get trace a table. We have how many times the loop repeats, the value of I, and the value of total. So this is what we were trying to figure it out. Initial stage, I is 1, total is 0. So that is the starting value. So you go inside, you check. Now I is 1. Is it less than 10? Yes. First time it will repeat. It will add it to the total. The total becomes 1. We increase I by 1. I is 2. So after the first iteration, I is 2, total is 1. Then next time, I is 2. 2, is it less than 10? Yes. It will repeat the second time. 1 plus 2, this becomes 3. Then we add 1. I is 3. So we have 2, 3, 3. Good. Then again repeat. I is 3 now. We check now the while loop, the condition. 3, is it less than or equal to 10? Yes. The loop repeat for the third time. You add I to the total. I is 3. Total is 3. 3 plus 3. Total becomes 6. I becomes 4. Next one. I is 4. Right? So repeat for the fourth time. Then this becomes 10. I is 5. So I keep on running this. Then fifth time. Total is 15. I is 6. Sixth time. Total is 21. I is 7. Seventh time. Total is 28. I is 8. Eighth time. Right? This is 36. I is 9. Ninth time. Then this is 45. Right? I is 10. Okay. So the next time, 10, is it less than or equal to 10? It's equal to 10. So loop repeat for the 10th time. This is 55. Now I is 11. So now you check whether the 11 is less than or 10. No, then it will come out. So I have a couple of questions now. How many times this loop repeats? How many times? This loop repeat 10 times. What is the total final value? That is 55. What is the value of I after this code? That is 11. So remember that you should be able to, answer questions similar to this. Right. So let's clear everything. Let's run this and observe. And before we running, we need to print the total. So we can see, we can have a print statement, print. We can use F strings, and we can say sum or the total. We can say total. So like this. Let me run this, run module, and you will notice that the sum is 55. You got my point? How the code works, how we find the sum of numbers from 1 to 10. And the idea that we could have done this a single line, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus up to 10. But the idea is we do it iteratively. So for a given repetition, the iteration, we add just one number. If you understand this, we can do anything we want, right? We will do a lot of exercises, in coming sessions on this. I think this is enough for us today, isn't it? Because what we discuss is a while loop, and how while statement could be used to repeat something. Okay. With that said, we can conclude today's session.